This is MrsAgroSquerril standing in for Agro while he recovers from some vocal strain. He is recovering, but it could still be a while. I hope you enjoy. The Good Perch by Marilyn of Many. You would think, Captain Sunlight said dryly, that a spaceport organized enough to have a whole section for courier ships would have a more visible labeling system. Yeah, really, I agreed with a frown at the small sign marking our ship's berth. The thing was barely ankle height and a thin font. Not even a bright color. It hardly stood out from the pavement in its grey and black subtlety. With all the spacefarers parading past in a rainbow of body types and clothing styles, not to mention the equally wild spaceships everywhere, those signs were easy to miss. I asked the captain, "Have you been here before? Is this normal, or did the wrong person take charge of designing things?" "It's been a while," said Captain Sunlight, crossing her scaly arms. "I don't recall this being a problem before, but I suspect our wayward client is still wandering the walkways looking for us. Normally I'd say our ship would stand out, but the visibility's not great for that either. Lemon-shaped spaceships with foldable solar sails were pretty uncommon. The one parked behind us would have been easy to spot from a distance, if not for the larger ships looming close on either side. These berths were too close together." Captain Sunlight pulled her phone out of a belt pouch. "Still says they're on their way." "Maybe we need to scoot forward a bit," I suggested. "Make the ship easier to see." I stepped up to the walkway for a better look at the view from there. This turned out to give someone else a better view of me. "Hey, person who climbs things," called a cheerful voice. "Come help me brace this." After a confused half-second, I located the speaker on top of the grey-brown ship next to ours. I realized with a start that this wasn't the first time our ships had been parked side by side. "Hey, Acorn," I called back. "Are you waiting for clients too?" "We were," the fellow courier called back, waving something that looked like a wrench. She herself still looked like a baboon crossed with a crocodile. "Now it's time for errands and maintenance, and this thing needs fixing before we get back into space. Care to give me a hand? Everybody else is either busy or too much of a coward to get up this high." "Sure thing," I said with a glance at Captain Sunlight, who was waving me on. "What's the best way up?" Acorn directed me to a row of handholds on the other side of the ship, which made for a nice easy climb. A pity her crewmates didn't appreciate heights. The spaceport was a beautiful, chaotic sprawl of color from here, and the top of the ship was flat enough to feel plenty safe. "Welcome to the Good Perch," Acorn said, offering me a wrench. "It's a very exclusive club. Can you hold this part in place so I can adjust that?" "Absolutely," I told her. "This end, right? Wait, got it." I actually had no idea what this open panel was for, but I like to think I hit it well. The job was a simple one with the two of us. I could see how it would have been awkward with just one though. I wondered if she'd resorted to using her feet to hold things in place. I sure would have. "Got it," she said. "Now to close it all up. I knew that would be quick." I removed the wrench. What's the saying? More hands means less work. Makes sense to me, though by that logic your friend there could get everything done by himself. I looked down to see that Mer had joined Captain Sunlight, in all his many tentacled squid-like glory. He probably could actually, though I don't know how he is with heights. "Well, no need to share the good perch," Acorn announced, snapping the panel shut. She spread her arms. "Look at this panorama. It is a nice one. I was just thinking that. What kind of ship is that blobby green one over there? I haven't seen it before." Acorn stood up for a better look. "I think it's a Waterworld design." "That makes sense." I got to my feet too, glad the ship we stood on wasn't one of those shiny racer models. Those were much too slippery to make good sightseeing towers. Not that Acorn seemed bothered either way. She probably would have found grippy shoes somewhere and run up the side just to prove she could. Her appreciation for climbing had been a nice change the first time I ran into her, and was no different now. Given how much time I spent among alien crewmates who didn't have tree-swinging monkeys in their family trees. "That ship looks like it would make an excellent climbing structure," she said, pointing at a pink model with grooves along the sides. "Pity it belongs to a security force, who are likely to be uptight about such things." I laughed. Isn't that always the way of it? There's a police station in my hometown with a roof that slopes down to meet a very climbable wall, and you have no idea how tempting it looked. Well, maybe you know. She definitely understood, and we spent an enjoyable few minutes talking about which buildings and spaceships looked like the most fun to climb. Then I spotted someone wandering from one birthmarker to the next, looking both lost and a little nearsighted, and I had a suspicion that I'd found our missing client. This was a fellow human wearing the kind of drapey clothes that spoke of dignity and no little wealth. Her expression was exactly the kind I'd wear if I had to deal with these hard-to-read signs long enough to be late. "Hey, Captain," I called down to Sunlight. "Is that her?" I pointed. Captain Sunlight hurried forward with her phone out, matching the look of the person with an image there. "Yep, called it." Acorn chuckled while the pair of them exchanged greetings and complaints about the station layout. "Nice one. The wisdom of the heights strikes again." "Do they need you down there now?" "Probably," I said. "Actually, not yet. This package is a small one. Mer's got it." As I spoke, Mer pushed a hovercart forward with a box on it, liberally covered in fragile stickers. It had a carrying handle on the top, which it had come with, and rubber bumpers on every corner, which paint had added just to be safe. All precautions had been taken. "Oh, good," Acorn said. "Then enjoy the view with me a little longer." She bent to pull something from the tool bag's side pocket. "Top of the tree snack?" "Are those the ones you're named for?" I asked, remembering a conversation the last time I'd seen her. Translations being what they were, her name meant a similar nut from her homeworld. It had been an amusing conversation, since we were both named after things found in trees. She didn't know what a robin was, but once I explained it, she claimed to have met a number of people back home with similar names. "Yes, the salted version," Acorn said, opening the bag. "I recall these were on the safe list for your species." "Safe and tasty," I agreed. "Thank you." I accepted a handful of alien acorns and marveled quietly at how universal salt was on snacks. Well, for some species. I don't think water wills or strongarms were that into overly salty food in general. Probably for slug-like reasons. Eggskin the medic would know. I should ask later. Acorn appeared over the other side of the ship. "Ooh, Riverbrook's wearing his goofy helmet. I owe him some acoustics since he played that loud music while I was working." She crouched, peering down at a crewmate who had just emerged. With care, she selected a nut from the bag. "Think you can thwack him from here?" The grin she threw back over her shoulder was full of teeth. I joined her at the edge. I like my odds. The crewmate was one of those people made of crystals instead of flesh. I forget the species name. Very interesting to look at, and unlikely to be hurt by a high-velocity acorn no matter where it hit. The helmet was golden, shiny, and probably a fashion statement of some kind. First we throw, then we hide. Got it. 1, 2, throw. Ping, ping. Ow, what was... Acorn, is this yours? We both giggled in childlike glee, just out of sight. "No thanks, you can have it," Acorn called back. "I'm going to put this in your fruit drink next mealtime." "Good luck with that." I nodded. "Ah, a prank war, a noble pursuit." "See, you get it." Acorn offered me more nuts. I took them and made myself more comfortable. "I don't suppose you know what a rattlesnake is?" "Nope." "Then let me tell you about the time I got Trilly, the big scary mesmer on my ship, with a classic prank from Earth." "Oh, do tell." I didn't have to get back to my ship for a few minutes yet, which left plenty of time for more anecdotes and snacks on the good Perch. End of story.
I'd greatly like to thank our Tier 5 channel members, Caspar Arnholtz, John Creighton, Manatharia, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.